Are you ready to expand your life in reality? Join us for the next hour with Jamie Bates as she shares life-changing thoughts, techniques, and awarenesses to help you expand your reality. Listen every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This live broadcast is produced by Haggy Shack Radio and simulcasted over Cosmic Reality Radio.
Hi, everyone. Our show is getting ready to start in just a moment. Expand Your Reality with Jamie Bates. Join Jamie. Her website is www.jamie-bates, BATES.com. And now, here's Jamie. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Colleen. And hello and welcome, everyone. I am Jamie Bates. I am a consciousness facilitator, and I'm grateful that you are joining me today. I'm super excited to be here. Beyond the realms of our mind and into the infinite possibilities that this universe has available for us. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by, we're always going to expand out. So we're going to do that first. We're going to put our barriers down. Our barriers down, our barriers down, our barriers down. And we're going to go ahead and expand out as big as the state that we're in, all the way out and all the way down and all the way up. And go ahead and make yourself as big as the country that you're in, all the way out and all the way down and all the way up. And go ahead and expand yourself out as big as the planet that we're all on, as big as planet Earth. Becoming one with everyone and everything. So we're using expanding as a tool to allow us to get out of our heads and get into the true space of who we be. So we're going all the way out as big as the universe. The multiverse, multiple universes. And let's times that by a million, times that by a million, times that by a million, all the way out to the space of who you be. As the infinite being that you be. Awesome. So today I am talking about how to ask questions to change anything. So what that looks like is, it's like this process of getting out of our head, getting out of the figuring out, and getting into the true infinite possibilities that this universe has to offer, right? Like, potentially maybe, 5 things for every situation that has happened in the past, right? Something happens and you search your database of information that says, when this happens, this is how I respond. And, the thing is like, that's what we're taught, right? This reality teaches us how to figure everything out. I mean, that's what we learn in school, right? We learn how to identify everything. We learn how to figure out how to get from point A to point B logically using our minds, right? We figure out how to, pretty much everything has an identification and a way to solve it. And what I'm saying here is the universe has like a million possibilities available for us, right? But if we only believe that there are, 5 possibilities for each situation that we're in, then what we do is when something happens, we revert to those same possibilities. So let's take the instance of I'm driving down the road and I get a flat tire. Okay, I have a way I'm going to go. For number one, I might freak out. I might panic a little bit. I might go into being upset, or I might just panic, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do, right? Well, there's this place that exists for us where the universe actually truly really has our back no matter what is going on, right? And if we don't decide, or if we kind of get out of the place where we know that we have to figure everything out, the universe actually has a ton of possibilities available to us that look different than we may have decided it looks like. So essentially it's kind of like going from the space where when I get a flat tire, all of a sudden I have to figure out, I have to panic. I have to figure out what's going on, switching to the place where I know that the universe has my back. And if something happens, I know that I can ask questions about that situation and actually create that situation as something greater than I ever thought was possible with that. So maybe the flat tire situation isn't the greatest example here. So let me think of something that we can use here that has a better reference point to it. So essentially, like when we go to, let's take school, for example. Okay, so school teaches us to store all information as true, right? We identify everything. So that looks like, for me, that looks like from an energetic perspective, it looks like little filing cabinets all around my head. Okay, and each one of these filing cabinets has the reference points and the information about everything in my life. So when I get a flat tire, I'm going to go to the reference points to what I believe is true about what that means about having a flat tire, about potentially maybe I need to blame someone about having a flat tire. Maybe I need to panic because I don't have money to fix my flat tire. I mean, I might have all of these reference points. Now, if I got a flat tire, the last time I got a flat tire was when I was 18 years old, let's take for instance, okay? And when I was 18 years old, I had a lot of panic around having a flat tire. Now, when I'm even 40, I'm going to reference point that point in my life, okay? Because that's where I have the energetic storage to that information. Now, when you go beyond what is kind of stored within your energy space and consciousness as real and true, what you actually find is there's a whole immense amount of possibilities that are way greater than anything that you could come up with. So let me take, for instance, I tend to, I'm in the question all the time. I've been doing this work for, I don't even know, 7-8 years now, and I have rarely very, very little conclusion about anything. If I even have conclusion, generally I'm very good at backing myself up and taking myself out of conclusion because I am aware that the universe has a ton of possibilities for me. And as soon as I conclude, I take all of those possibilities away and I put myself on one path. When in all actuality, there's a million paths to anything. So even using that flat tire example, recently, I had an instance where I was already aware that my car required tires, right? I already had that in my awareness. My car was telling me that. Because I didn't have really a viewpoint about it, I can actually receive from everything. Okay, so I was already aware I was going to need new tires. So I kind of put it in my awareness that when it was time for me to get new tires to kind of notify me, and that's kind of how I look at it. Like I can put the universe on notification, right? So I'm driving to pick my daughter up from school one day, and I get there and I pick her up from school and I get home and I get out of my car and I notice that my tire is completely flat. Now, I didn't drive on it completely flat. I know I would have known if I was driving on it completely flat. So it must have flattened like literally right when I pulled into my parking spot. So for me, it was like, okay, so now I'm aware that I have to take action. So I started asking questions like, what is required of me here? What do I need to do or be here to create this as ease? What can I choose here to create this as ease? For me, ease is one of those questions that I always go to, okay? I am not a fan of upset. I used to be a chronic upsetter, right? I used to go to lots of anger and upset in my life about everything. And when I started doing consciousness work, which the whole reason I actually found consciousness work was because I wanted to change the upset patterns in my life. I didn't want to choose upset anymore. I didn't want to be that screaming maniac mom that was upset about life. I just really didn't want to choose that anymore, but I didn't know how to not choose it. Like it was like so ingrained in me, it was that automatic response, right? And so asking questions was kind of the first thing that I learned to really stop me from that automatic responder, because when you go into automatic response, you have already solidified what is going to happen when you go to freak out. And I know, like, as a mom especially, I mean, we tend to freak out because that's just kind of what we do, right? And so when I started reverting to questions, so when I got this flat tire, I started asking a lot of questions. So first thing, I'm asking questions and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to call my husband. And so I call my husband and he's like, well, I don't know if we have, let's ask questions about this. So we actually thought, okay, I'm going to call my insurance company. So anyways, I call my insurance company. The guy comes out. He changes my tire, and I start asking questions like, when do I go get new tires? Like, is it today? No, it's heavy. See, and the thing is when you start asking questions, you can actually start asking yourself questions in a way where you can actually start to perceive in your body what feels true for you is always light, what feels heavy for you is always false. So I've been asking questions for so long that now I can ask a question, and if it feels light, I know that I need to act on that question. That's true for me. So when I ask myself, is it time for me to go get tires today? It was heavy. So I'm like, okay, I don't really have anywhere to go. Like, it's all good. Everything's chill. I'm good, right? I got my tire changed. I can still drive on that tomorrow in the morning. I don't have anything pressing going on the next day. So the next morning I asked myself, like, truth, do I want to go get tires today? It's like, no, it's still heavy. So I'm like, okay, well, I basically only have to drive my daughter to school, no big worries, right? It's like I have truly created a space where there's outlets for ease all around me. And that's part of my process of asking and receiving with questions, right? So I actually the next day I end up asking, and it feels really light. And it's like it's such a lightness in my body where I feel this sense of urgency, not a head noise. There's no noise going on in my head telling me to go do it. There's just a lightness in my body that's actually saying, okay, go now. So I go to the tire place, and I go to the tire place with the energy of I am aware that I need to get all new tires. It's not just the one tire that was flat. I was already aware of that, right? So I go into the tire place asking questions. I start asking what would this take for me to get the best deal? Like, what would this take for this to be ease? What would this take for this to create more than ever before? And I'm asking all of these questions. And I'm going in there with the mindset that the universe has my back, and that I'm going to create this situation better than I ever imagined possible. Because that's I would say probably the biggest viewpoint that I stand in now is that the universe has a million possibilities outside of anything that I could ever figure out in my brain, right? So I know that if I stand in that viewpoint, that the universe has something greater for me than I ever imagined possible, that when I go somewhere, the universe is going to create a possibility for me that is something far greater than I could imagine. So I go into the tire place, and I'm standing there, and the guy comes out, and we go outside, and he's looking at my tires, and he's like, he looks at the one that's flat, and he's like, oh yeah, you're going to need a new one of these. And he looks at my front ones, and he's like, oh, these are bad too, you're going to need these. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And the thing is about my car is I actually have a lease, and I have been this car's been amazing to me. This car has been a true gift, and so I tell him that I'm going to be turning it in soon, and I was aware that I was going to have to get new tires. And so we go back in, and he tells me that I'm going to need this certain brand of tire that's going to fit on my car, right? And he tells me that they were like $285 a piece. And so he says, if we're going to do 3, we probably really should do all of them. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'm literally just standing there. I'm really not even saying anything. And he's like, well, let me go in the back and see what we have. And he comes back, and he's like, no, these are really pretty much it. And I'm like, okay. And so the thing is like, I'm aware that I'm going to choose it no matter what, right? So just as I start to ask him a question, one of the guys in the showroom comes over, and he's like, hey, what about so-and-so's, those tires that they just took off that Jeep? And so he's like, oh yeah. So he's like, just a minute. He goes, he checks, he's like, I'm going to go check on something. He comes back, he types in the number, and he turns the computer screen around, and he tells me that these are tires that are approved. They're actually a higher grade tire than the tires that were on my car, and they're actually about $75 more than the original new ones. But these ones were actually only on somebody's Jeep for like a month. They hardly have any miles on them. They're basically brand new. And he's like, let me go see, if I can get you this set of 4 and how much it would be. And so I'm just standing there in this like, I know that this is going to be a possibility that's going to create more for me. So I'm just standing there, and he comes back and he tells me that the store will give me all 4 of them for $400, which is less than I would pay for 2 tires, right? And so I'm like, yeah, I'll take those tires. And the thing is like, those tires literally just got taken off of something. So had I actually showed up there the day before, had I stressed and worried about it the night of, I would have went in there, and that possibility would not have been available to me. But because I am willing to be the space of just standing in, allowing the universe to actually gift me with the possibility through asking questions, I actually create a space where I get notified. I become aware of when I need to act on everything. I get the space of being a chronic worrier. I get the space of where you're always in your head and you're always trying to figure everything out and you're always worrying about how you're going to create something for your life. But I'm here to kind of offer you this possibility that the universe always has your back. And when you stand in the viewpoint where you worry about things, what the universe does is it responds with the energy of worry. So if you're always worried about money, let's take that for instance, okay, what you're actually doing is you're projecting out the energy of worry about money. So then the universe is responding with an energy giving you reasons to worry about money. And I think we all know that, right? And the problem therein becomes the deprogramming of the worry, right? So when you start actually asking questions, going to the space of like, okay, so instead of worrying about the $1,000 worth of bills that you have due on Friday, you go to the space where you start asking questions about like, hey, what would it take to have $1,000 show up for me right away? What would it be like to have $1,000 show up for me today? Right? So what you do is you start actually asking questions about what you want to create instead of worrying about what is showing up. Okay, and when you make that shift, what you actually start doing is you start actually energetically responding to the universe in a way where you're actually telling the universe that you're open to something different. So when I ask a question like, hey, what would it take for $1,000 to show up right away? What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that question, and that question is going to vibrate out into the universe. And then the universe is going to respond with an energy. Okay? When the universe responds with an energy, what it actually does is you actually receive the energy into your body, not into your head space, not into your figuring out program area, but your actual body. Okay, I like to receive into my heart space. So when I say, what would it take for $1,000 to show up right away? Okay, I put that question out there energetically, and then I receive the energy back from the universe, and I'm going to receive that energy into my heart space. And what happens is, okay, so when I stand and ask questions in my energy space and consciousness, right, we just expand it out into the energy space of consciousness of who we be. So when I ask a question of the universe responds with my unique frequency. Now, if you have a lot of viewpoints about how money can show up, that is all kind of energetic storage that's potentially in the way of the universe responding. Right? So it takes practice, because oftentimes you'll start asking questions and you won't feel anything going on, and people will tell me, well, I don't feel anything, I'm not doing it right. It's not that you're not doing it right. It's that you have a lot of information in the way. If I have already decided that the only way I can come up with $1,000 is if I work really hard, or I work extra hours at work, or I sell so-and-so and so, or whatever. If I actually have to do something to create that $1,000, then I am actually limiting what is truly possible for me. But when I start asking and I start putting those questions out into the universe, and I actually start receiving the frequency into my body, what happens is I start actually vibrating at that frequency of what it would take for $1,000 to show up for me. So when I start saying, hey, universe, what would it take for $1,000 to show up today? And then I receive. Okay, what actually ends up happening is I start vibrating at that frequency, then I start actually energetically aligning with the possibility of $1,000 coming to my doorstep today. Now, when you start doing this kind of thing, it's not just about asking for like random amounts of money, right? For me, the big thing is I ask a lot for ease. Hey, what would it take for my life to be ease? What would it take for this to be ease? What would it take for my day to be ease, right? So I'm frequency matching ease all of the time. And what that actually creates for me is when a situation happens, like I get a flat tire, I go to what would it be like if having 4 new tires would be ease? I'm going to receive that. What would it take for 4 new tires to come to me with ease? I'm going to receive that. Okay, and what actually ends up happening is I start vibrating at the energy, space, and consciousness of ease. Okay, I've been asking for ease for the last few years, and I will tell you that there's really not anything in my life right now that really comes with any degree of difficulty. Because I am truly standing in the space of ease, my life shows up with ease, right? And all of a sudden, everything that goes on during my day, even if it's I have a flat tire or it's the flat tire was probably the most traumatic thing, even if that's not even really traumatic at all, but that's probably the most upsetting, even though it wasn't any upset, but that's probably the most traumatic thing that I've had happen to me in literally I don't know, probably years, because it just seems like I'm always in alignment of this flow. And like even the fact that like my tire went completely flat the second I got home even tells me right there that like, the universe had my back. That was ease. That really was. With my tire going flat, the easiest place my tire could have went flat is in my driveway. And it did. It didn't go flat on the expressway when I was driving home. It didn't go flat on my way to, right? It didn't go flat in the high school parking lot. It waited until we got back home. And just like that, somebody showed up, somebody changed the tire within, 20 minutes. The whole process was all ease. Yes, I drove on it for a few days, but it didn't hinder my days. I didn't really have anything pressing that I required to go do that I couldn't go do with that tire on my car. And so even that process actually turned out to be ease. Yeah. So when you revert from this idea that like you have to conclude and figure out your life, and you actually kind of go to this space where you get that you are an infinite being with infinite choice. The universe has an amazing amount of possibilities available to you. The only reason that your life is showing up the way that your life is showing up right now is because energetically you have storage systems that tell you when this happens, this is how you respond. I don't know anyone who's particularly a woman who hasn't gone through some kind of evolution of some sort in their life, whether it's consciousness work or some other sort of work that doesn't go to the automatic responder of losing their crap, right? I mean, like a majority of us, I just seen a YouTube video yesterday, and the lady was talking about being a yeller and about how she is a yeller. That's just how she communicates. Well, I get that. That's how she has the energetic storage space of that. When something happens, that is where she goes to. But your point of view creates your reality. Your reality does not create your point of view. So when you have the point of view that when this happens, this is how I have to respond, that is the only possibility that is available to you. But if you know that the universe actually has a million possibilities available to you. And I get the whole yelling at your kid thing, because I used to be a yeller at my kids. I used to yell, I used to freak out all the time. But when I started actually really looking at what it was going to take to change that, I was able to truly clear out these defined points of view and actually create a new space for me to show up for my kids, and actually gave my kids a different possibility. Instead of having a mom that freaked out and yelled at them all the time, they actually got to choose something different as well. Because I was no longer the space of that. I no longer had that as my point of view to create my reality, and that actually allowed them to create something different as well. Yeah. So when you shift from that place where you're solid within your viewpoints, and you start going to asking questions for a different possibility, you actually get that there are amazing amounts of energies that can contribute to you, that can actually truly start shifting your life without you having to do anything but start asking some questions. Yeah, so I want to kind of go over how to ask questions, but I think first maybe we can go to a break. Colleen, are you available right now to put on some music for a break?
I sure am. Sorry it took me a second to get to
That's okay.
you, but my mouse went crazy. Alrighty, we'll put on a song and we'll be back. You just let me know when you're ready.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you are live.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we are currently living in an ask and receive universe, right? We know that it's universal law that when you ask, the universe receives. How many of us have listened to or read the book The Secret, right? It talks all about how you can frequency match the life that you desire, right? And I know a lot of us, The Secret, right? It really, really, truly took off. But the problem with The Secret was you have so much storage space between you and the frequency match that you're looking for. So as a consciousness coach, that's really what I do is I help you kind of remove that stuff that's in the way. But I also teach you fundamentally the most important thing to learn is how to ask questions. Because the thing is again, we live in an ask and receive universe. That is universal law. When you ask the universe for something, the universe responds energetically with the answer. Always. Nobody teaches us how to be a receiver. No one. People teach us how to be a figure-outer, how to process the information in our head, not how to get into your body, receive the information that the universe is giving you, and allow that information to percolate within the energy, space, and consciousness of who you be, and actually become the space of it. So today, I'm going to kind of go over that really, really firmly with you, how to really, truly be that ask and receiver, okay? So when you're asking questions, the expansion thing that we started with today is literally the most important tool that you can learn if you really, truly want to change anything in your life. You have to get out of the contraction of what's going on around you, and you really get into the big space of who you be. Because within that big space of who you be is a ton of more possibilities than are available to you in the small space of contraction. Okay, so that's my number one go-to tool. But my number two tool is really learning how to be a receiver. You know, our bodies are receivers. Our whole body is a receiving organ. Right? We taste, we touch, we smell, we feel, we see. Our body is continuously in this reality giving us information all day long. The thing is we have been taught to get out of the feeling because we have been taught to always show your work and always figure everything out. And that within that figuring out place is actually where it takes you out of fundamentally allowing the universe to provide what you're asking for. So one of my favorite questions to ask is something that I practice on a daily basis, okay, is what can I receive today to have more of me right away? Because I am aware that when more of me shows up, when more of who I truly be becomes available and becomes present, that allows, when more of me is present, that allows life to become more ease, right? I was talking about having that ease at the beginning of the show. So what we want to do when we get into asking questions is we want to make sure we're expanded out, okay? When we ask a question, let's all kind of do that together. So what can I receive today? Put that out. What can I receive today to have more of me right away? So when you ask that question, you're going to pause and you're going to allow the universe to respond to you with an energy. Okay? And that energy goes into your heart space, goes through your body, and it actually starts delivering the energy that is required to have more of you show up. Yeah, and it kind of feels like a big space, right? So let's do some more questions here. What can I add to my life to have more money with ease? So go ahead and ask that question. So what can I add to my life to have more money with ease? And we're going to receive. You'll receive that right into your heart space. Receive, receive, receive. Now, I threw in a money question there, which is a lot of times people will go to like, oh, I can't add anything, I'm already so overwhelmed. Well, you're overwhelmed, probably number one, because you have decided, you have figured out in your head everything that you need to do, and instead of getting into your body and actually perceiving what is important at the moment and what is actually required of you. So when you start asking that question, like, what can I add to my life to have more money with ease, the universe is going to respond with that answer. You're asking the universe is responding with your unique frequency. Now when I look at something like, what can I add to my life, a lot of times that looks like, for me, and that might look like, a new program. It might look like, it actually might even look like a new animal, which sounds like a weird thing, but I recently just added a new animal to my life. And that was kind of a key piece to adding a new frequency within my home that is actually kind of breaking up other frequencies that are kind of admitting that aren't actually a contribution to me. So the bird actually adds something to my life that creates more ease. And when I have more ease, I automatically have more money. Because when you have the space of ease, money actually flows to you way greater than when you are contracted. Yeah. So as we ask and receive, what we're actually doing is we are standing in that universal law that we know we can ask questions about anything. And here's the thing, especially when we're dealing with a difficulty in our life, right? Oftentimes something difficult is arising, or maybe it's even something like maybe a loved one has passed away, and that's a difficult time, right? So without making the sadness insignificant, or without making any of the experience insignificant, because that's not what it's about. But when you start asking questions like, hey, what can I receive today to have more ease with this right away? Okay, the universe is going to respond. Okay, and what the universe is going to do is it's going to give you frequencies that are going to help kind of alleviate the sad feelings that you're dealing with. But it's also going to connect you with the energy, space, and consciousness potentially of the person that's passed away. It's going to give you, could potentially give you more space of awareness about decisions that need to be made. It's going to give you information that's going to make the situation become easier for yourself. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to take away from the experience that you're having, but it is going to help change it so it doesn't have quite the intensity of pain that it had on it before. So no matter what situation you're dealing with, whether it's the loss of a loved one, which I know many of us right now are dealing with the intense pain of losing someone that we love. And I know that it's a very, very, very hard space. And so when all else fails for me, no matter what I am presented with, a question that can always help is, what can I receive today to have more ease right away? Right? Because it's not taking away from the situation that's going on. It's not making the situation right or wrong. It's not creating or adding to any conclusions around the situation. It's just allowing the universe to gift you your divine right of being here, to gift you with frequencies, energy, space, and consciousness that will actually create an energy of ease that's going to give you more space and more possibilities. Yeah, so maybe we can even add that to the YouTube video. What can I receive today to have more ease right away? This question literally can be used for any situation that pops up. Whether it's, I'm going to say I'm at the grocery store and I need to buy this cart of groceries, and maybe I don't have enough money to pay for the whole thing. Okay? And I start asking, what can I receive today to have more money right away? Right? What can I receive today to have more ease right away? What's actually going to start happening is the universe is going to start creating a molecular change that's going to start changing you from the difficulty of not having enough money to the space of having enough money with ease. Now, I'm not going to say it might not happen right that second in the grocery store, but I'm going to tell you right now that being this space of a receiver that I have been playing in for the last few years, I have received, I can't even probably even close to put a number of the amount of free things that I have received in my life, the amount of discounts that I receive, from free rent to free, I've had free water. I've had, my water bill was credited for many, many months. I've had, my phone bill. At one point we had 3 months at a time of bill credits. I've had, energy bill credits. I have had free car payments. And not by anything I even actually truly had to do. It kind of just literally showed up for me. Because I am being a receiver. That is what your body is intended for. And I'm continuously asking the universe questions and allowing the universe to frequency match what I am asking for, and I'm allowing that energy to be delivered into my body. So I am becoming the space of ease. I am becoming the space of money. I am becoming the space of whatever it is that I'm asking for on a daily basis. So what I found is when you change from the conclusion area and you go to the receiving area, your life starts changing literally potentially overnight, depending on how much you kind of really allow yourself to ask and receive. And what this actually creates is people showing up all around you looking to contribute to you, literally. Just even being at the tire place, right? And, looking at, okay, I'm getting ready to replace 4 tires at almost $300 a pop. That goes to, no, I get all 4 for $400, right out the door too, not even any additional fees. And it's all of a sudden, the universe is responding to me frequency-wise and actually gifting me with these amazing people, places, and things that want to contribute to me. And the thing is somewhere along the lines, we bought into this idea that we had to work for and we had to figure out our lives and that we had to make everything happen. And I'm not at all saying that you don't have to make your life happen, but I am going to say that when you start actually really truly stepping into the divine birthright that you are given when you come here in this reality, which is ask and you shall receive, when you learn how to master asking questions and receiving the energy into your body, you truly become the receiver that this reality tells you that you can't be. And it really truly starts transforming your life into the possibility that the universe has your back. Outrageously, the universe has your back. Life does not have to be struggle. It does not have to be hard. There is not anything within this reality that is beyond your capacity to have. It's only your viewpoints that stand in the way. Your point of view creates your reality. Your reality does not create your point of view. If you buy into the concepts that this world is hard and that you have to struggle for everything that you have, the world energetically responds to that, and everything in your life shows up like that. When you go to this other space where you know that you are a powerful creator, and that if you ask the universe to deliver something to you and you can receive it, that you will be the space of having what you desire. It doesn't matter, I tend to go to more of the feelings because we are a feeler, right? So for me, ease is huge. Now, do I ask for things in particular? Absolutely yes. When I started looking at needing new tires, I started asking for how I could get new tires with ease, right? How these new tires could actually contribute to my life. I started asking questions particularly about the tires. But the thing is I have been asking for ease for so long that I have become the space of ease in my life where nothing shows up in my life as struggle any longer. And this has not been a place that I've functioned in for that long of a time. Like I said, maybe the last 5 years. And as I've stood in that energy of ease more and more and more, and as I have allowed myself to receive more and more energy of ease, I have been actualizing more and more ease. So my life right now is way easier than it was even a year ago. It's way, way easier than it was 2 years ago. Last year, in my business, I started making myself a goal. I decided last year, 2017, that I was going to, number one, I was going to travel every single month for my business. Okay, I actually made these goals at the end of 2016. And number two, that I was going to make a minimum of at least $10,000 a month. And last year, I traveled every single month except one, and that was my choice. I didn't actually want to travel that month. I had decided that I was kind of traveled out, and I decided I was staying home that month, so I did not actually travel that month. But I set my goals to that, and I created it. And I created that by asking for that to show up, receiving the energy that the universe delivered to me, and then allowing myself to actualize that energy and actually create it. And did I have to make proactive steps? Absolutely. But when I started asking questions like, what can I be or do today to have a client show up right away? Okay, I put that out there. I received that space. And what actually ended up happening was when I started receiving information about clients is then I started getting clients showing up from all over the place, right? Because I was the space of the universal energy that was being delivered to me that actually allowed these clients to start showing up. And when I became that vibration, it allowed me to frequency match with those clients, and it allowed us to create what we required to create, or what we wanted to create, I should say. Yeah, so, literally, I still had to do things. Yes, I still had to take proactive measures, but I also go to the space of when I get up in the morning, I ask my business what's required of me today. And then I receive, right? I don't go to the conclusion of what I have to do. I am aware that there are things I require to get done in my business, but there's plenty of days that I don't work on certain things because it's not time for that yet, just like the tires that I was talking about, right? I don't make myself do anything that doesn't feel like it's ready to be done. And again, when I'm in that space of in the frequency matching of what I'm doing, it allows me to actually tap into what is required, and it allows me to take action from that space. I know I'm talking a lot about a lot of things here that may or may not make sense yet. Maybe I feel like maybe I'm speaking another language. I don't know. Maybe you are completely receiving what I'm saying. I do have a program that I have going on right now that is 30 days. And every single day you get an audio from me, and it's really all around asking and receiving. The program is called Asking and Receiving for New Possibilities, and it has 4 long calls. Well, there's 3 right now. We're getting ready to do our last one on Monday, and then there's every single day you get an audio from me that has questions. There's all kinds of questions in there. There's days where we expand out and we just ask questions. There's days where we expand out and I tell a story about a situation where I asked questions and the situation showed up, right? There's all kinds of different, different audios. Every single day I just never know exactly what I'm going to talk about. So every day for 30 days, you would actually receive an audio from me with some days it might come with a question sheet that has questions you can ask. Other days it might just have an audio that just has a story or something that I share that actually expands you beyond what you might think is possible and into a different possibility. And the goal for my 30-day programs is really to get you into the habit, because this stuff it's habit forming. You have to learn how to ask questions. Learning how to ask questions is life changing, but it's not something that necessarily, I don't want to say it's not hard, but it's one of those things where you have to get out of the auto programming, right? You have to get out of all that stuff where your mind is auto responding. Hey, this happens, this is how I respond. When you get out of the auto responding and you get into the possibility that there is something else available to you, all of a sudden the universe starts responding in a different way and you actually get to have a different possibility. So this 30-day program is one of these programs that I have like my other 30-day programs where you can sign up at any time. You don't have to do it live with us. And basically when you sign up, you automatically start getting the emails. You can add yourself to our Facebook group. The Facebook group has everyone that is joining us in the Ask and Receive journey. That's a place where you can ask questions, where you can interact, where you can share things that are showing up. We're having people share things that are showing up in their universe, share their stories, whatever it may be. And this 30-day class right now, I have it, it's only $44. And it really will teach you how to ask questions for new possibilities, right? To ask questions to change anything. Because it doesn't matter what is currently going on in your life, when you get out of the conclusion about what that means, you actually truly have a different choice. Yeah. It's only our mind's programming. It's only this reality's way of I'm going to go all conspiracy theory here and say, but it's really this reality's way of controlling us. We have bought into this idea that we are limited. And the reality is you are an infinite being with infinite choice. And there's universal laws set in place that are there to protect you as the infinite being. If there's something you want to create in your life, if there's something that you are ready to let go of in your life and ready to change, there isn't anything that is unchangeable that you can't start asking questions about to receive a different possibility for. I don't care what it is. I don't care how difficult of a situation it is. There are questions that you can ask yourself and you can receive that will actually truly allow your life to transform into a different possibility. I'm just going to give some more space here so we can truly, really get the space of possibilities that is available to you. You are not struggle. You are not upset. You are not wrong. You are an infinite being that has been limited in a space that has been made to believe that there is nothing outside of you that can create more than you can. And the reality is you have this amazing space of you that is actually available to you. And when you get in that space and you stay in that space and you ask from that space, you get to have new possibilities, and you get to have the ease that you have always known is possible. Awesome. All right, Colleen, I'm not sure how much more I have to say today. Everybody feels like they're vortexing out. I'm not sure how many more minutes we have here.
Well, there's only 2 left, so not enough to really worry about.
Okay, awesome.
So if you've said everything you wanted to say today, I just wanted to say thank you so much for today's show.
Yes, thank you.
I really enjoyed it and got some stuff out of it.
Awesome. I wonder if there's a way, well, there is actually on my website, maybe I should mention, if you go to my website, there's a free series on there that you can sign up for. And that free series, there is, I want to say it's day number 2 or day number 3 that actually has heart space receiving, which is this concept right here. And it actually does come with a free question sheet that you can ask questions, and it talks about asking questions. So there is actually a free sheet that you can register for on my website if you're interested, and that's www.jamie-bates.com.
Alrighty, I've put that in the chat room.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you again.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you, everyone.
You have been listening to Expand Your Reality with your host, Jamie Bates. Thank you for listening.
Good